Hello, everyone. It's Dr. Jasmine, your natural health and wellness guide. Thanks so much for joining me today. This video is going to be dedicated to stress and its effect on hair growth. Now, I totally understand stress is not a new topic. It's not something unheard of. I feel like every time we go to the doctor, it's like, oh, you're stressed, or are you dealing with your stress, or how's your stress lately, right? So I know I'm not like doing anything revolutionary here, but it's such an important topic and such an inevitable part of life. We have to talk about it, right? We can't just ignore this normal part of being human. Uh, Now, a great Greek philosopher once said, the only constant is change. And that's true. In your life, it's going to change. Even if you stay the same, things do change. I mean, COVID happened, right? Who would have thought we would go through a pandemic when we couldn't leave our houses? Even just a year ago, my life did not look like this. I did not own my own business. I wasn't on YouTube, and I did not have my beautiful 2-year-old. So life constantly changes, and how we react to those changes on a physiological level will and can impact our hair. Now, the hair cycle fits into about 3 phases. So you have the anagen or the growth phase, you have the catagen or that transition or dormancy phase, and then we have the telogen or the rest shedding phase. Now, in times of stress, the anagen phase is actually shortened. So the growth is significantly smaller. And or the time in that phase is significantly smaller. And there's actually a condition called short anagen syndrome where you just naturally, it's thought to be genetic, spend a smaller amount of time in the phase to grow. Now, when you're stressed, that telogen or that resting or that shedding phase is often prolonged. Okay, so instead of staying there, for just a couple of months, you just sit in this phase. Now, in normal hair growth, correct falls and rises of the cycle, you're expected to have about 10 to 15% of your hairs on your head at one time in that telogen or shedding phase. So you will see shedding. That's just a normal part of hair. In stress induced hair loss or a condition called telogen effluvium or TE, there's more than 10 to 15% of hairs in that telogen phase. And over time, this leads to excessive shedding, excessive meaning like handfuls coming out, shedding, and overall thinning. Now, the one nice thing about this is that it's not expected to lead to complete baldness. I mean, I think it probably could if it's prolonged, you're not dealing with the stress. I mean, and all the hairs just come out. It's possible, but not typical. And because it's stress or trauma induced, once the stress or the trauma has been corrected, your body heals from that, your physiologic response to stress gets back to normal, your hairs can re enter that anagen phase, and the hairs will grow back as intended. And in most cases, this people will see this occur within 3 to 6 months after the stress ends. Now you're probably like, Dr. Jasmine, I haven't had shedding in handfuls, or I've never been diagnosed with TE. My hair just don't grow that fast. And you're probably thinking, well, stress has no effects on my hair. Well, not necessarily. Just because we haven't had those excessive handfuls or that diagnosis of TE doesn't mean that stress isn't maybe causing your hair to grow less efficiently than it could. Now, the way I like to think about stress in my brain, way my brain works, I always think of the flight or fight response, right? So, when you're like in middle school biology, it's like fight or flight. That cortisol is increasing to protect our most vital systems. So when I'm thinking about it, I'm thinking about, oh my God, I'm running from a tiger, right? I have to get away from this tiger so it doesn't like eat me up. So during that running from a tiger, my cortisol increases in response to that stimulus that makes me want to run away. Well, in order to do that, those fight or flight systems get upregulated. So blood flow to my brain, right? So I can like think in my nervous system so I can move. Blood flow and oxygen to my heart, my lungs, my legs, everything that's getting me away from this tiger or bear or wherever I'm running from. But other systems that aren't really required, right, for me to run away from a bear, they get down regulated. So things like urination, digestion, hair growth. I don't need a head full of hair while I'm running from a tiger. So it gets turned off. Now that's a very vivid um depiction of stress and flight or fight, but in our everyday lives, we don't find ourselves running from a bear, right? But we might be undergoing those same changes because we have high mental emotional stressors. So, unfortunately, the body doesn't really do a great job of differentiating running from a bear from mental emotional stress. To the body, stress is stress is stress. It all looks the same. The body responds the same, unfortunately. Now, if we're constantly or regularly experiencing high stress, whether that be situational, whether that be self induced, our body doesn't deem hair as that important and can shift it back into that telogen phase. And it just kind of sits there. And then after a while, it sheds, right? And if we're not actually doing anything to manage those stress levels, then it just continues, right? Now some of us are probably thinking, well, I just have a lot of like little things, right? I have a family and I have a spouse and I have aging parents and I have friends from school, from work, from childhood that I'm trying to keep up with. And I'm trying to drink my water and I'm trying to exercise and I'm trying to go to work and I'm trying to, take care of my home and my cars and then we look and it's like, whoa, I have all these little stressors that are just piling on. And then sometimes what we'll find is that there's one thing, right? That one thing we added, or one thing that got added to us was just enough to break the camel's back, if you will, right? And then we start to see our hair respond from all those little stressors. Now, some of us, of course, do have big stressors. I can definitely remember getting married. That was not a great time. Not that I didn't love getting married. I love getting married. I loved planning my wedding. It was one of the best times ever. But great, wonderful stress is still stress, right? Remember, your body doesn't care if it's good or bad. Mental, emotional, physical stress is stress, and your body's usually going to react the same way. So, well, what do we do about it, right? It's like, well, Jasmine, you said change is inevitable, right? You said that, change is a constant, the one constant in life. So, what do we do about it? Well, we learn how to manage it, right? I like for people to shift their focus away from how do I get rid of the stress to how do I manage the stress, right? How do I help my adrenal glands not freak out every time I go through a stressor because stress happens. Well, luckily, God put a wonderful whole host of herbs on this earth that help us do just that. And they are called adaptogens. Now, adaptogens have gotten so much press lately. I mean, they're in coffees, they're in lotions and hair and skin products, and for good reason. Adaptogens are wonderful at helping our body manage that stress response. Now, they got me through med school. They're helping me through motherhood because life is hard, right? And I am a firm believer that trouble does not last always. Definitely, with hope and love and support, trouble will end. But it's nice to have a little support during the troubling times, right? So, some of my favorite adaptogens are herbs that include ashwagandha, schisandra, bacopa, ginseng, rhodiola, and reishi mushroom. Now, this is not an exhaustive list at all, but these are some of the ones that I found to be pretty common, easily to find, and very helpful. Now, these of course, all have effects at supporting stress response, basically helping your body not freak out every time you go through something stressful. But they also have other effects, kind of depending on which one you decide. You might get something that has some thyroid support, so support to your female reproductive cycle. A lot of these have great energy and sex drive support, focus and attention, stamina, mental clarity. And if we think about it, all of these kind of benefits that I've listed off here all can be affected by a poor stress response, right? If you're constantly throwing off your adrenal glands, are just going off, that negatively communicates with your thyroid and your female reproductive system. It also can negatively impact your focus and attention. Over time, that can decrease your energy, which can decrease your sex drive and your stamina, and then, just causes some brain fog and that feeling like, oh my God, I can't think straight. What do I do? So, definitely consider adding one or a couple of these to work together to your daily regimen. It can be a real game changer in supporting stress management goals. Now, again, these don't make the stressors go away, right? I can't, make my 2-year-old not throw his food on the floor and stress me out, but it does help my body feel better and not necessarily freak out about that. Like I'm running from a bear or a tiger. Now, they don't necessarily immediately make you feel super relaxed, okay? But they can help over time your body have just that more appropriate response to those stressful stimuli of life. This way, we can encourage the hairs as well back into that anagen phase because if we're not constantly like stress, your hair's like, oh, she's in a relaxed state. She's not running from that tiger or that bear. We can grow healthy hair, right? So these can be really helpful at just encouraging the correct movement through that hair growth cycle. Now, how can you enjoy these? Like I said, they're everywhere. But you can do it as a tea, coffee, in supplements like a capsule or a tablet, and even as roll-on oils. I don't know if you've seen these, but there's like oils that you can like rub on and just like kind of calm down and relax. And then some people even see them have benefits directly applied to the scalp. So if you are stressed and you're seeing that, you may infuse them into an oil or find something for purchase that you can add to your scalp. So there you have it. Stress, it's a booger. But unfortunately, we will all experience it. It's something we can't necessarily avoid because again, change is that one constant in life. But fortunately, we have so many natural options to support us during those stressful times. So let me know what adaptogens you love, what you've used. If you're, thinking of using one, I definitely want to hear from you guys. So definitely comment. And I just want to say thanks so much for watching. Please like and subscribe, and may God bless you and your health. Bye.